Most of the time, the word evil is associated with the actions of adults. However, children and adolescents are often believed to be young and innocent, but this perception is not always correct. In today's video, I will reveal cases of the most evil teenagers in the world and the atrocities they committed to earn that disgusting title. One example is Daniel William Marsh, who on April 14, 2013, at the age of 15, invaded the home of Oliver Chip Northup Jr. and his wife, Claudia Maupin. He left the mutilated couple in their bed. Marsh, from the age of 10, had developed violent and antisocial behavior. Despite seeking medical help and trying various medications to improve his mental health, his urges to torture and murder persisted and intensified over time. On the night of April 13, 2013, Marsh carefully planned how to carry out the murder. Inspired by serial killers like Ted Bundy, he dressed in black, wore a mask, taped the soles of his shoes, and wore gloves to leave no trace. He entered Maupin and Northup's home and brutally stabbed them while they slept. Marsh didn't stop there. He continued dismembering the bodies and performing horrible acts on the remains. Although investigators found no evidence at the crime scene thanks to Marsh's careful planning, the latter, full of pride, began bragging about the murders to friends and his girlfriend. He even showed the bloody knife he used to commit the crime. Eventually, he was reported by his friends to school authorities. During interrogation, Marsh admitted to the crimes. He was tried in September 2014 at the age of 17. Although he pleaded guilty by reason of insanity, a psychiatrist diagnosed him as mentally ill but sane. Marsh was sentenced to life in prison with eligibility for parole after 52 years. However, the law in California allows you to apply for parole after 25 years. Another case is that of Nicholas Cruz, who on February 14, 2018, at the age of 19, opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, killing 17 people and wounding 17 others. Cruz, a former student at the school, he had serious behavioral problems since preschool. Obsessed with weapons, he shared racist and xenophobic opinions on social networks. Diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and oppositional defiant disorder, he was enrolled in a special school in 2014. Over time, his fascination with guns and gun violence grew, revealing his dangerous tendencies from an early age. Cruz took action to fulfill his desire to become involved in gun violence. He walked into a gun store in Coral Springs, completed the background check necessary to purchase a gun, and legally purchased an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle. However, this would not be his first weapon, as he had previously obtained a shotgun and other rifles. At the time, in Florida, it was legal for an 18-year-old to purchase and possess a gun. After the shooting, it was revealed that the sheriff's office had received numerous calls about Cruz between 2008 and 2017, some of them coming from his own brother or his family home. Many of these calls alerted authorities to Cruz's threats to carry out a school shooting. On January 5, 2018, a few weeks before the shooting, the FBI received a tip about Cruz's gun collection, his unstable behaviors, and his desire to harm other people. Unfortunately, the warning was not investigated. After the shooting, Cruz was arrested and charged in March 2018 with 17 counts of first-degree murder and 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder. In November 2022, he was sentenced to 34 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, one for each person who was killed or injured in the shooting. In another case, Greg Ramos took a dispute with his parents over a low grade to violent extremes. At the age of 15, after an argument, he strangled his mother and left her lifeless. Later, he tried to cover up the crime by organizing a robbery at his home with the help of 2 friends. Ramos was tried as an adult, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Kai Anger, at age 18, was part of a group of friends who, while playing dangerously, caused the death of Kenneth White by throwing a rock from an overpass at a moving van. Anger pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 39 months to 20 years in prison. Philip Chisholm, at age 14, carefully planned the murder of his math teacher, Colleen Ritzer. After raping and stabbing Ritzer, he attempted to dispose of the body and use the money on his credit cards. Chisholm was tried as an adult and sentenced to at least 40 years in prison. Sierra Halseth, at age 16, along with her boyfriend, murdered her father. They tried to dismember the body with a chainsaw, but when they failed, they decided to burn the body. Both were sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole at age 22. Craig Price, from an early age, was involved in crimes, but at the age of 13, he committed his first murder. 2 years later, he brutally murdered a family. Price was eventually captured due to an injury to his hand and was diagnosed with various mental disorders. Barry Ludis, at age 14, committed a shooting at Frontier Middle School, killing 2 classmates and his teacher. His action was influenced by family problems, including his parents' divorce. These cases reveal tragedies and violent acts committed by young individuals, each with their own motivations and circumstances. In September 1997, Barry's trial shocked the public when he was found guilty of a series of extremely serious charges. Among these charges were first-degree murder, second-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and a grisly total of 16 counts of aggravated kidnapping. The sentence imposed on him was shocking: 2 life sentences, in addition to 205 years in prison without the possibility of parole. This case became a grim reminder of the human capacity for extreme violence and its consequences. Harvey Miguel Robinson, a teenage serial killer, left a trail of terror in his criminal wake. At the age of 17, during home invasions in August 1995, Robinson broke into Johan Burgard's home with the initial intention of robbery. However, his actions took a sinister turn when, instead of taking material belongings, he chose to rape and murder his victim. This was just the beginning of his chilling criminal career, which included the brutal death of Charlotte Schmoyer and other victims. The court ultimately handed down 3 death sentences and 97 years in prison, marking the end of a series of heinous crimes. Charles Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugit, an infamous murder couple, carried out a series of 11 homicides between November 1957 and January 1958. The violence of their crimes ranged from attacks at gas stations to murders on farms and homes. On November 30th, 1957, Starkweather, enraged by a dispute at a gas station, began his wave of violence. This dark chapter culminated in Starkweather's execution in 1959 and Fugate's sentencing to life in prison, although he was paroled in 1976 after serving 17.5 years in prison. In March 2014, 15-year-old James Fairweather unleashed a killing spree in Colchester, Essex. His first victim, James Atfield, 33, was enjoying nature in Castle Park when Fairweather brutally attacked him with a knife. Atfield, a father of 5 with brain injuries after a car accident, was stabbed more than 100 times in a public place during the day. The crime scene was shocking, and passers-by could have stumbled upon this atrocity. Fairweather continued his spree of violence in June 2000 when he attacked and killed Nahid Al-Manea, a 31-year-old Saudi student. The second crime demonstrated the brutality of Fairweather, who stabbed Al-Manea in the abdomen and pierced her eye with a knife. Arrested in May 2015, Fairweather claimed during the trial that he heard voices ordering him to commit these crimes. Although he pleaded guilty in January 2016, he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 27 years. Brandon Spencer, convicted in April 2014, faced a sentence of 40 years to life in prison for a shooting that occurred in 2012. At the time, Spencer was 17 years old and attending a Halloween party on the campus of Southern University, California. During the party, chaos broke out when Spencer allegedly opened fire on the crowd, wounding 4 people. Although he was arrested about half a mile from the scene, Spencer maintained his innocence during the trial. However, the prosecution, backed by a questionable witness and evidence of gang membership found on Spencer's phone, convicted him without strong evidence of his involvement in the shooting. Despite Spencer's efforts to prove his innocence, his case has been the subject of controversy, and questions about the validity of the evidence presented persist. In this case analysis, it is evident that society faces significant challenges in identifying and condemning heinous crimes, especially when they involve youth. The complexity of the judicial system and the need to ensure fairness and justice continue to be critical issues in these shocking cases. The intersection of factors such as mental health, third-party influence, and racial bias underscores the importance of careful and thoughtful examination of these events to improve the system and prevent future acts of youth violence. Don't forget to subscribe if you found this video interesting. Until next time.